Michael Nagy here with Jiggy Jag TV and DiscoveringBands.com. And for everyone watching, if you share this video on my channel and help support the awesome bands I feature. And today I'm here with Orcus Nullify. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Michael. Nice to be on your show after watching many episodes of it.
Well, thank you. It's great to have you. And I want to start off and say, how did you get into the whole goth and dark wave scene to begin with?
Well, it's interesting because I'm kind of an older dude. And back when I got in, there wasn't really like a different genres. It was just alternative music is what we called it. And I would just say I didn't go out to get specifically into the dark wave or the goth, whatever you want to call it, alternative. I'll call it that. So we had a college radio station in my where I lived when I was a kid, and they played a lot of the old school stuff, like. First time I heard Bauhaus, I think it just like put a hook in me, and that was like Bela Lugosi's "Dead" was like their big hit on college radio back then. And yeah, when I heard David J. thumping at the bass, I was like, I gotta do that. And so I picked up a bass, and I was like pretty young then. I mean, I was like junior high school, right? So I pick up a bass, and I do it in my school band. And I got involved with the whole band thing for many years, and played the stand-up bass too. I had the opportunity to do that, so I started off with the bass, and I started getting into just alternative music at the time, and gravitated towards what was called hardcore music. I guess punk, but we called it hardcore. I'm not 100% sure what the distinction is there, but. Went to shows, local shows, like bands would come around and the shows were really casual. It wasn't like a big stage with the band way up on high. It was like go to the local like Veterans of Foreign War hall and get in for $5, right? All ages show, anyone gets in. And I was like 15 at the time. And first show I went to was a hardcore show. Who was the headliner? RKL, which was Rich Kids on LSD is what it stood for. And there's oddly enough, there's still a Facebook page for that band. And I guess they turned it to something called Nerdcore, which I'm not sure what the nerd thing is, but they opened up and I got involved and I started going to different shows. And at one of the shows, the singer of one of the opening bands just said, "Hey, we're looking for a bass player. Anyone interested, come backstage and see me." And backstage used very broadly because it was basically like a different room of the Parents with the Partners Hall, right? So they rented out this hall and they did the show in one room and then they had a backstage area in the other. So I went and met with the guy and I ended up I did like a mini audition for him and he was like, "Yeah, man, you're it." So, and these guys were like, oh boy, I think the youngest one was like 25, much older than me, like separated by like a decade. And so, yeah, I mean, I could go on and on, man, because I went in a couple of different iterations of bands. And yeah, I mean, I would say like, hardcore was pretty hard, And I went off on my own and like started doing my own thing for a while, and it kind of softened out because I was just more. I wouldn't say more. I love the hardcore scene. I love what it stood for. It as a person at the time, and, I'm a white kid. I wasn't from like a real I didn't have a lot of money, and didn't come from a family with money, and it was a place for like someone that felt marginalized. To like feel like I had like my own place to be, right? That, and I just did a lot of stuff that set me out. Like I would like this is like in the 80s. I would like shave my head, dye my hair blue, and that would get me into a lot of fights and just separate me from like kids that were into sports or you had different cliques back then, and it ended up being me and just a couple of kids, and it was like a small group, and we just gravitated towards this scene. And so anyways, I'm just going off 10 different ways here, but yeah, that's how I got into music. Yep.
And what are you currently working on with Orcus Nullify?
So yeah, started, so I'm kind of like, music is like a part-time thing for me. So I put out like spurts of music. So I have an EP that I just put out on World Goth Day this past May. And that's called Beautiful Hell. Okay. And that's out there right now on Bandcamp if anyone's interested. And it very much taps into what I feel is like the old goth type sound, but it is what it is to me. It's just like I'm making alternative music. This is what I do. This is, and I would say like, so the inspiration there and how I got to this EP was over the prior 4 years, during the reign of the Orange Beast. So many things got way backwards. Everything seemed to turn around, right? Things were, I would say prior to that, looking pretty good, politically. Things were looking really up. And so everything fell down and just went so far backwards. And I would say the topics that I dealt with were my feelings on those items, which, it was like soup du jour, whatever was kind of grating on me, whatever was in the news that day that made me want to scream at the walls. And of course, I was home a lot of that due to COVID and being locked down. So, yeah, I would say it was, ranging from like inequality being a big one. And I would say the biggest one that and so back at that point, it was inequality, misogynism, this fascist right-wing outcropping of neo-Nazis, which, they really shouldn't even, those people should have disappeared years and years ago, decades ago, but they're still out there. So there was that. But nowadays, I would say what's motivating me now to write on new things going forward would be voting rights. Voting rights, it's the topic that should be concentrated right now. Everyone should be concerned about that. This, states are going out and semi-autonomously trying to create voting rights. Should say voting rights isn't the right way to say it. They're actually flying in the face of voting rights and trying to create laws to prohibit people from being able to go and vote, and trying to limit, and also the long, something that's always been an issue, gerrymandering is rife today as well. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So I'm writing on new material, and hopefully in another year, maybe I'll have another EP or even an album if I'm feeling really inspired. So yeah.
Yeah, with everything going on in the world, there must be infinite amount of material for you to write about right now.
Yes, so true. So true. I've never had, I've always kind of watched the events of the day and then, check the news at the end of the day or whatnot. But, geez, I got to tell you, the news has just been all I can focus on, have been focusing on the last, I feel a little bit less, I felt like it was my duty to pay attention to what was going on prior to this year, but now I feel a little bit more comfortable with what's going on. But still, I feel like there's an urgent need for us to focus on voting rights being taken away. I just feel like it's an extension of all the bad things that have been accumulative over these years. And that needs to, if there's anything that needs to be focused on right now politically, it's voting rights.
And I feel like the news is so negative, sometimes it's even hard to focus on it too much because it's just too much negative energy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, the news should be what it is. I can't, I hate when they editorialize things that, or even focus on things that don't necessarily, so some people might not like what I'm going to say, and I'll leave names out, but recently a young lady was murdered by her boyfriend, and that has taken over a lot of the news. And I feel like, yes, that's an important story, but is she the only girl out there that has been murdered? or harmed in some way by her boyfriend. I don't know that there's been a lot of attention on that one single girl, that I feel like if maybe the color of her skin was a little bit different, that maybe that wouldn't be a story.
Yeah, and the news seems to single out in certain things, and they don't cover everything that's going on, for sure.
No, necessarily. And not the things, you know, again, with the voting right things, I can't say that enough. I feel like that needs to be what we got to be concerned with, right? So, yeah.
Now, for your music, I want to say I like your video for Beautiful Hell. Are you going to be doing any more videos?
Yeah, sure. I love doing videos. I actually really enjoy it. It's like a second, like, outlet for, like, I get really charged up, you know. I'm going to say, I don't know if it's art doing that, because a lot of it is just clips from here, and, you know, it's news art. Take news clips. I take old films and pieces and parts from everywhere, film myself, and I try to bring in elements that, like, I enjoy when I'm doing my own video. Like, I live in the woods, right? And as you may have noticed from my backdrop here, I had to find a place that had a good internet signal, so I'm not at my home. So, because I live in a place where you got to basically, like, pipe in here, because there's just nothing out there. But I love it, and that's one of the things that when I do a video, I try to include nature in some manner. So, and with that song in that video, I was trying to portray the song's underlying meaning, being that while the world is a very beautiful place, the dichotomy is that there's a lot of ugliness going on. So there's video clips in there to kind of portray a lot of that negative vibe, but also there's some beautiful clips in there too. There's some stained glass from some churches that I found very beautiful, and also just the backdrop for the setting was the forest that I live in, like some clips of the forest, and so yeah.
Now, does that, for you as an artist, make it hard not having good internet service with all, like, the social media stuff that goes into it?
Man, it is tough. I gotta tell you, it's really hard. Yes, I have to do a lot of planning. I have to plan on if I want to pull stuff down, if I want to use the internet as a resource, and I have to be in, put myself in a certain place at a certain time, and, life has to revolve around internet service, right? So yes, it's a huge role in creating. If I want to put together a video, I want to pull down some clips, I'm going to have to roll to one of the areas where I live here in the boondocks. There's areas that have internet and there's areas that don't, and it's definitely I don't take the internet for granted for certain. So
now, if people want to find you online on social media, get your music, look you up, how do they do that?
Well, I'm on Facebook, and it's Orcus Nullify. I'm Bruce Nullify, of course. And, the other part of me is Leonia T-Neck. That's my beautiful wife, and she helps with the artistic direction. She's also on Facebook. Ant Bannister does the production, and you can look him up. He's in a lot of other bands, and he's done a lot of interesting things, too. And our music's on Bandcamp. I'm on some other platforms, too, but primarily I would want to point people towards Bandcamp.
And you're involved with other projects too, right?
I am. Right now I'm working on a project called Sequential Zero, with Ant Bannister, basically the leader of that band, and it's specifically a dark wave project. We're trying for that dark wave sound, although I think it is what it is again. Ant brought me in and said, well, I want an edgy guitar, right? So I play multiple instruments, and, he could have said, bring in the bass or want to try some vocals. No, he's like, I like your guitar work. You sound very kind of edgy, gothic, and I want to bring that to the sound. And he's on the keyboards and he does the vocals, and his sound is a very dark wave type sound. So put the two together, and that's what you get with Sequential Zero. That also with Colin Gallagher with Burnt Souls is also in that project too. He does keys, and I couldn't even tell you that. You know, I believe he just does keys, but I'm not sure what else he contributes. Both of those two guys are over in Australia. And I do, again, with the internet, that's a project that's hard to maintain because, you know, I gotta connect with those guys on the project. And we put out a single recently, and the song that we did, two songs on that, but the song Lost One I created a video for recently that just yesterday we put out on the internet. So that's something to look forward out there. Ant Bannister's, it's on Ant Bannister's page. Ant Bannister is involved with Sounds Like Winter, his main band, but he's also Lunar Module, Def Effects. That's all I'm aware of, but it's on Ant Bannister's page. Look out for that one. It's The Lost Ones by Sequential Zero.
Awesome. And I want to ask, with Orcus Nullify, you have any plans to play live soon?
You know, I'd really like to. There's not a lot of places to gig at where I'm at, and it's really tough because, you know, I kind of maintain a full-time job and all the regular life stuff. And, you know, I've been trying to reach out to, like, you know, Kentucky Vampires guys are all around me down in the southeast area here. I've been reaching out to them, hoping to kind of get brought in on, you know, one of those gigs. Also, who was I talking to? Davey Bones was planning a virtual show, and I think he canceled it. But, you know, virtual shows for sure would be an option, like a pre-recorded situation. But yeah, I'd like to. Yeah.
Awesome. With working full time, how do you balance your time to do the music? Do you have a set schedule, or just whenever you have free time?
I try to plan ahead, like when I'm going to do something, but it doesn't always work that way because, of course, with music, it's like, okay, so this is the time I set aside for music. I really just want to go outside and work on a car, or, you know, and you gotta like have that vibe going, like you just have an idea, or, I mean, I try to, like, if something comes to me, or if, like I said, you know, politics charge me up all the time, so. Hey, if something really catches me, maybe I try to make time for it instead of plan on doing it. So I would just say it's tough to plan, but yes, working and trying to fit everything in life-wise, I'm sure it's, you know, it's probably like a pretty common complaint. Most people probably got to do this, just try to figure out, you know, how am I going to make this happen the rest of life?
Yeah, because I know most artists, they would just like to be doing their thing full time, but unfortunately they got to build up to that point.
Yeah, right. That's exactly the problem. Music isn't always something that pays a lot of money, right? So in my case, I would say it's not for money at all. It's just because I like to do it. It's kind of what I want to do. Fortunately, you know, I can do it and try to juggle work too.
Like a hobby, yeah.
It's like a hobby. Yeah, exactly. It's something, you know, I used to do it a lot more when I was younger and had fewer responsibilities, but nowadays it's got to be a hobby. It's just, you know, everything else has to be maintained, and I have to continue on with life and try to do it when I can do it, because it's a hobby. It's a passion. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to what you have coming up in the future, and it was a good talking with you and having you on, and everybody look him up.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite. Thank you, Michael.
Anytime. For everyone watching, I've linked his music in the video description, so make sure you check that out.